Hey everybody, welcome to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this cool and simple little CSS navigation bar. I'm also making use of CSS Flexbox here as well, and some media queries too to get these disappearing items. Right, so I'll code this one along with you. Let's dive into it. So we're in the text editor and I'm using Visual Studio Code. I've got my basic index.html document open and a styles.css. This is within a folder. I've also got my logo in here as well, which is a PNG file with a transparent background. So to get my HTML file started, I'm going to type doc and click enter, and this will give me the emit abbreviation, which means I get my whole boilerplate set up in a quick command within Visual Studio Code. I'll put a link to that in the description if you want an intro to Visual Studio Code. Let's title this Flex Nav. If I click save, see if the server's working, which it is, so we can see it's called Flex Nav. I need to link my CSS file in here as well. So that is a styles.css file linked. Okay, so in the main body section, we're going to create the navigation. And I'm going to put the navigation within a header tag. We're going to have 3 items in this header tag, in fact. The first one is going to be the company logo. It's not going to go anywhere for this particular example, so we can just leave a hashtag in there. And then I'm going to have an image within that link. The source will be that logo file that I showed you. So if I click save now, we can see we've got our logo on the screen. The alt text, I'll put company logo. Okay, so that's the first item within the header. After that, in fact, let's close this one down. You can see it a little bit better. Now we are going to have our nav tag and an unordered list, which I'm going to give a class of nav links. If I click enter with that, it builds my unordered list, which is brilliant. Emmet is such a valuable tool within VS Code. It really does speed up your progress. Anyway, so now we've got our link items, or our list items, sorry, for our navigation. So again, I'll click save to show you we've just got the logo so far. Now we've got the nav section, and we're creating an unordered list called nav links, and we're going to have different list items. Now each list item needs to be a link so that we can click on it and go somewhere. Initially, we're going to have it set to go nowhere because we're not actually building the web page, just the navigation. I'll do 3 of these for this example. We'll say home. Let's put a store in there, and we'll go for contact as well. So they are the 3 elements of our navigation, and we can see them pop up here. So beyond our navigation, we're going to have a 3rd element in the header, and this is going to be a link, and it's going to be a button, which is going to be a sign up button. So we'll create our link tag, and then we'll use the button tag as well to create the button. And the text is going to be sign up. So if I click save there, we've now got our sign up button here, which doesn't do anything, and our links don't go anywhere either, and the logo is also a link, so we can click on that. Okay, so that is the main content for our CSS, I believe. I think I need to put an ID in somewhere for something. I'm sure I've got an ID on this image here, in fact. If I create an ID of logo, I can then use that in a second on the CSS to change the size of that logo. Okay, so that is the HTML for our heading. There's not much to it. We've got a logo, we've got our navigation links, and we've got a sign up button. So let's jump into the CSS and start writing the CSS. Now the first thing I'm going to do is go to Google Fonts and import a font that I want to use in this navigation. So if we head to Google Fonts, and the font that I'm looking for is Open Sans, which tends to be on the first page because it's a very common font. So if we click on that font and we come over to the side, we can choose to import this as a link in our HTML, but in this case I'm going to import it into the CSS. So it gives us this here. I don't need to import the style tags, so I will leave them. I'll just copy this section here, come over to our CSS and paste that in there. And then we can see the rule for the font family, which we will do in a second, so I will just paste that down there for a moment. Okay, so we will start writing our CSS out now that we've got our font. Let's just get rid of that one and pull this one back. In fact, I might make this a little bit bigger so we can see what's happening as we are editing it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do in the CSS is to target everything with this selector, and I'm going to set the padding to be 0 on everything and the margin to be 0 on everything. I'm also going to set the box sizing of all elements to be border box. This will mean that their size won't change even if we add padding or margin. Okay, so next we'll target the body. So this is the body element within the HTML. This is this body tag here. So that's basically everything on the page. And we are going to say the background color, and I'm going to set it to a hex code, which is F3, F1, FF. So this is just a slightly off-white color. Okay, so that's just to set the background. That's all we're going to do for the body. We've then got our text items, which we've got the button, the link, and the list items. And we are going to set the font on those ones to this here, which we've got from Google Fonts. So I'm just going to move that one up into there. Let's just save that one, just so you can see that the fonts have changed there. We're going to do text transform, and this we can turn everything up to uppercase. So now all of our link items are in uppercase. And the font size I'm going to set to 1.1 EM. Color of the font, I've got a hex code, which I'm going to go for F8, F8, F7. Okay, so that's again a slightly white color, which we can't see here at the moment. It's disappeared. In fact, until we are ready to see that, I'm going to comment that one out, and because I want to show you text decoration, we are going to set to none. In fact, am I going to do that in this section? I am going to do it in this section, yes. Text decoration, none, we've got there. And that will take the lines off of these link items, okay? So that's it for that section. We're going to move on to the header. Now I could set a background color for this header. In fact, let me shrink that logo a minute, because that logo is rather big and annoying at the moment. So I'm just going to say logo width, I'm going to set to 180 pixel, and then the height, and that should shrink it down. Okay, so that just makes it a little bit easier to look at. Okay, so the header section, so I could do a plain color for the whole header, but I'm just going to put a little bit of gradient on there, a color gradient. So for that we need to do a background image, and we can go for linear gradient. And for this I've got two hex colors. So the first hex color is 001219, and then I'll do a comma, and my second hex color that I want it to fade into will be a 001E2A. So if I click save there, we can now see we've got our background color for our whole header section. So remember, in our header section we have got three elements. We've got the link, which is the logo. We've then got the navigation, so that's the second element, and then we've got the link button here, so that's the third element. So we put a background color on. It's not just a plain background color, like I said, it's a gradient, so it's slightly darker at the top and it kind of gets a slightly lighter to the bottom, and that just helps add a little bit of dynamic and character. So in the header section also, we are going to display it to flex. So this is where we can add our flex property. So if I click save now, they all go next to each other in 3 columns. I then want to specify that I want to justify the content space between. We're going to go for that one there. So if I click save now, you can see the items will spread out evenly. I'm also going to align the items to the center. Okay, so at the moment we can just see that button move down from the top down to there. So everything is lined up with this center line here. I'll put some padding on this as well. And I'm going to specify 2 values. top and bottom of 10 pixels, and then the left and right I want to be 8%. Okay, so now we can see we've got a bit of space. So the padding, the 10 pixels, is 10 pixels at the top and 10 pixels at the bottom on each item. And then we've got 8% on either side. So that means no matter what the screen size is, there's always going to be that 8% of padding at the side so that these items don't get too close to the side. Okay, so that's what that's doing. We'll leave that one now. So we've done the header. We've done the logo. I don't need to do anything else to that, I don't believe. Next we're going to target the nav links. And just for those, I'll quickly show you in the HTML. This is the unordered list, so I'm targeting that at the moment with this. And I'm just going to put a transition on that. And we're going to set it to all. 0.2 seconds. Ease, which I believe is the default anyway. And we'll put 0 seconds there for that one. Okay, so we'll see that in action shortly. We are then going to target the nav links list items, and we are going to display inline block. Okay, so at the moment they are displayed as blocks, I believe, or content blocks, but when we put them to inline blocks, they should line up next to each other. Okay, like that. We will add a bit of padding to those as well, as they are very close together. And for this, for the top and bottom, I'm going to say 0 pixel because they've already got padding from the previous one that we set here. And then I'm going to go with 60 pixels for the left and right. And that will just help space them out when it's on full screen. Okay, so we've got a nice bit of spacing between these three elements. And here it starts to look bad, but we will fix that later on with the media queries. Okay, so the nav links, we will leave at that. And then next we are going to target the nav links list items A. So these are the links within the nav links. And we are just going to specify the color for these. And I've got a hex value of 005F73. So now we can see the color has changed of these now. I'm going to actually change that to hover, because that's what color we want it to be when we hover over in a second. Not hoover, we don't want to be hoovering our code. Certainly not. So I've missed out a parameter here, which is kind of this one. I will paste it in, but without the hover. So we are going to go for transition. I need to put a transition on that one. So it's the same transition that I've got here. So I'm going to paste it in there. Next, we're going to target the button. So this is the end button here, the sign up button. We are going to give it some padding to start with. We are going to say 9 pixel on the top and bottom, 30 pixel on the left and right. So if I click save, we can now see the button has got a load of padding on it. We will set the background color, and I've got a hex value for that. So I will set that to 0A9396. Okay, so now that's the color of our background on that button element. I'm going to give it a border of none because we don't want a border on there. It has a border by default, so now we've removed the border. I'm going to give it a border radius, so we've got a nice rounded button. I'll give that a big radius of 50 pixel. Okay, so we've got a nice rounded button. And then I want the cursor to be pointer, because currently it's not a pointer. Okay, so we click save there, and now we get a pointer when we hover over that button element. And I've got a transition to put on that as well. Okay, so now we've got our button set out and designed. We want to set what happens when we hover over that button. So we'll go for a hover and not a hoover. And we are just going to change the background color for that. So instead of mumbling the hex code out, I'm just going to copy and paste that one in there. So when we hover over it, the button changes color. Right, so that is pretty much all the CSS done. Apart from these button colors, I'm not sure these are right, so let's have a quick look at that. Aha, because I commented out the color there earlier on, so let's put that color back in. Okay, so now we can see we've got the colors there, and when we hover over them, they are the same color as that hover button there, or similar color. Just for a quick tip, if you want to know where I got the colors from, if you type in CSS color palette generator, there's a cool website called coolers.co, and on here if you click explore trending color palettes, okay, so here you can get a great array of color palettes, and if you like this color you can click it and it's copied, you can put it in your CSS and you can come back and get another color from the same color palette, so your colors end up being very congruent. So I've applied a little bit of that here with the background color and these colors when you hover over, so that's where I get my colors from, just as a quick tip. Okay, so like I said, that is most of the CSS done, I believe. We have now got this navigation which stays relatively centered with its 8% of padding on either side. But when we get here, we can see things get a little bit nasty. So I'm just going to show you a few media queries within CSS. And these media queries are what you use when you are creating a responsive site. Okay, so we can type out @media screen and open and close parentheses max width, and we're going to set that to 730 pixel. Okay, so when we are at 730 pixel or less, this is what we want to happen. Okay, so we'll do open and close curly braces, and the first thing we'll do to test this is say button display none. Okay, so when the screen is small, that button will not display, but when the screen gets to a maximum of 730, the button will then display as it was before, because we've already set it to be displayed with all these different properties. So basically when the screen gets to a certain size, that button will disappear. Okay, and one way you can see what size your screen is by going to inspect, right clicking and going to inspect, and on Firefox here we've got the box model, and this will tell you the size of the screen here. So as I'm changing the screen size, you can see that number getting smaller or larger. Okay, so for this example I've got it set at 730, and I'll make the button disappear, but we'll also make the nav links list items, we will change their padding, just make it slightly smaller, so we'll keep that at 0 pixel, and instead of 30 pixel, I believe we've got it set at 30 or 40 pixel, we'll set it to 10 pixel. In fact, I need that button to disappear sooner, I believe. Okay, in fact, the first size I need to do is actually 1080. I'm going to set that to 1080, so that's when I want the button to disappear, not at the smaller size. Okay, so my mistake there. So we can see when the screen gets to 1080 pixels, that button disappears because now the screen's too small for that button. And you can also see that those link items, the padding changes. It changes from, I think is it 60 pixels we've got it set at here. When the screen gets to this size or smaller, it then changes to 10 pixels. Okay, so the button disappears and the padding changes on those buttons, on those link items, sorry. So we're going to do the same again, but at an even smaller screen size. So this time it is going to be the 730 pixels. That is already not being displayed, so we can get rid of that one. And this time we're going to say these link items display, we'll say none. Okay, and in fact we don't even have to target the list items, we can just say the nav links. So when it gets to 730 pixels or less, those nav links will disappear. And just for an extra bonus, I'm going to throw that logo to the other side. So we'll say display to a block. Okay, so now I want to change this. Nothing should really happen because it's a block, but it's floating left. So I'm going to do text align, and we're going to go right. I click save, and the logo pops over to the right. Okay, so that's just a few basic media queries, just to give you some exposure to media queries. We can see the button disappear and the padding change, and it gets so small, and then the logo goes over that side. Now, if it was a bit more of an advanced tutorial, or you want to take this further, you could do something here and use some JavaScript or maybe some advanced CSS to get a little drop-down menu or a burger menu icon pop up. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to leave it there. We've now got a really cool and responsive navigation. Looks fairly professional, I would say. You're more than welcome to get the code from this from my GitHub, which I'll link in the description. And you're more than welcome to use this on your own projects. Adapt it as you need to. Use it as a base to grow from. It's a great one to put some JavaScript into when you want to learn JavaScript or you're ready to learn JavaScript. You can use this as a framework and go on and take it on to the next level. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more great content. I will see you soon.